All right, so today we're going to be looking at how to brand a simple backdrop. So a few different ideas and ways that you can brand a scenery backdrop for an event. A few different options if you have specific colors and logos and graphics to work with. So kind of jump right into it here. I'm going to go ahead and start with just some templates to look at to see what we might be able to start with. So one of the first things I'm going to do is drag out a couple of these to see what maybe we want to start with. I think I'm going to go with this one. Just kind of a blank sort of canvas look to it. I'm going to hit this lines button to kind of see this a little better and turn the room lighting up just a tad. And this is kind of just the general set we're going to start with. And then, so when you're looking to start with obviously branding your backdrop, you're probably going to have a logo. So I'm just going to search for the general logo, a generic logo that I can find that we can work with. So I'm just going to type in corporate logo, and this will be, just find something that isn't super exciting, because a lot of times when we're working with different companies, they don't necessarily have a ton of graphics to work with, so you're kind of maybe going to just have something simple to start with. So let's try this one. It's just two colors, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this link right here, which will give me the graphic, and I'm just going to paste it into here and then drag this onto the screens. And notice that the graphic is a little bit squished, and that's because it was a different aspect ratio. So to fix that, we can just use one of these sliders here and move it up a bit. And we'll just go with that for now. It doesn't have to be perfect for what we're doing today. All right, so we'll start with that. And obviously, the colors are all off, so let's try to get some colors that maybe match this logo a bit. So I'll just adjust this a tad to get a decent green. And let's just start with something like this. Looks close enough to that green. And then maybe I'll select some of the other lights here to maybe try like a blue. Maybe differentiate this a little bit. We'll do like a deepish blue. That's kind of cool. Let me go ahead and adjust these two lights. We have these harsh lines right there, which is just because of the way the light's working. So I'll adjust these lights too, and just to decrease their amount a little bit, and that helps a good amount. All right, so now I kind of have this cool gradient here, so that looks a little bit better. I'll adjust these backlights too, and maybe those for now are just subtle blue. That, I think I just need to rotate them a tad. All right, we'll just start with that. All right, so this is pretty cool, but it's still fairly basic right now. Let's go ahead, and we have this sort of blank canvas in the back. A lot of times, sort of a more corporate look often does use graphic in the backdrop. It's kind of a simple way to keep things sort of on brand. So we'll just drag that onto this backdrop here. And again, I'm just going to switch this and change it back to 1. And I'll move this up here. Move this a little bit more, and I'll scale the whole thing down a bit. And then move it to the center. We'll say that's about good for now. All right, so this is pretty simple so far. One thing you'll notice, obviously, is that the backdrop looks a little bit blue now because of these blue uplights. So one thing you can do is either add some lights to, let's say, your truss up here and shoot the backdrop to make that white. But a simpler sort of method for now is I'm just going to select these uplights right here and change that to a white, and that should bring it to better color there, a more accurate color. If I can find the white, there we go. All right, so that's looking kind of cool. You know, maybe you have something like that. And that's a fairly simple way to do a branded backdrop there. Let's go ahead and add something maybe a little bit different though. Maybe you want another option where there's a little more contrast, so it's just a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this center area and maybe throw some drape back here. So I'll select these guys, move them back a little. And obviously they're a bit too tall, so I'm just going to scale them down. Something like that. Maybe I just add one more. Oops. Scale them out a little bit like that. All right, so now we got a basic, just drapery backdrop. So to make this kind of look cool, more interesting, and keep it on brand, maybe we want to do some more logos with something like some TV monitors here. So I'll go ahead and put out 2 of these guys, something like this, and then I'll just adjust these a little bit as well. Scale them a little bit, move them over a little bit. That looks about right. I'm just going to adjust the brightness a little bit of them too. Adjust the brightness of these guys a tiny bit as well, so they're not kind of washed out looking. All right, we'll start there. So what I think we could do, again, because this is just kind of bare, is to add some scenery sort of in the backdrop there. So maybe we want to try something like these form set pieces maybe. Let's drag out one of these guys and make sure that it's back here. And I think what we'll do is say that they either are hanging off this drape or they could kind of be supported from some stands on the ground. But let's go to this front view, and I know that these guys are 2 feet. If you look here, it says they're 2 by 2s. So I'm going to go just set this grid layout to 2 feet, 24 inches, and then just drag these guys down like so. And then if I move them up, so maybe they sit on the ground like that. And I think what would be cool and give it nice contrast is if it were to, if we were to just do columns of it. I think that would have a nice sort of black and white contrast to it. So let's just go ahead and move these over. It'll have a 2-foot space between each one of them, like that. And then let's say I want to move the whole thing over by a little bit. I'm going to change this back and sort of try to put this in the center. So maybe something like this. And think that's pretty decent. Probably move these screens out just a touch real quick here. Let's say we move them out 6 inches. And then bring this drapery back in right there. And I can adjust this a little bit more here. So let's say move this, and then we just scale this out a little bit more. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and just move these right along the drape. Like that. And then I think I want to change these lights back to a blue, so that white isn't doing it for me. There we go, that's a little nicer. All right, cool. So now you got some cool kind of contrast between some of these things, and you still have your branding here. So make sure that this is sort of positioned in the middle of these columns here. And then lastly, maybe you want to add some people on here. So let's go ahead and throw in some chairs. I think maybe this one might look good with the person. She's a little buried in the stage right now, so let's move her up to there. Just rotate her a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna move her and just add some more people real quick. Let's say they're got a foot between them, maybe a couple feet between them. Just hold the Alt key and drag, and that'll multiply them. Go ahead and, whoopsie. Let me go ahead and select all of them, and I'll just move them over a bit. And then we can change the person in each seat. So maybe I'll do her here, him there, and her there. And I just need to adjust them a little bit. So she's a little high, I'll just move her there. And then rotate him a touch. Let's move up. Yeah, that's about good enough. All right, and lastly, just to finish this kind of off, let's make throw some plants in here, just kind of make it look a little nicer. Maybe a plant in front of this column here, and then another one back over here. And then I'm just going to move some tables up here too, so that we can have a sort of finished look. Just like this. Maybe offset them a little bit. All right, now I can kind of come in here and make a nice rendering out of this. So you can see the difference now between, so there's two options, one of which had that sort of graphic backdrop, which is nice, but it can kind of get a little bit stale sometimes, so depending on what your clients like. But this is kind of cool because it gives the sort of logo and branding multiple options where you have these screens and that sort of thing, as well as a mixture of scenery and logos, so it doesn't look like the whole set is just one big logo, if that makes any sense. And then you can always adjust some smaller things to kind of finish off this sort of look. So I might go ahead and maybe just select the front and back lights, and then maybe adjust the colors of them a little bit to kind of maybe do like a cooler white, something like this. Bring it down just a touch. Adjust the angle. And there you go. Something like this. Oops. And yeah, we'll leave it there. You can play with the lighting all day. But yeah, so that's kind of a quick look at a couple ways to vary the branding, at least as a starting concept, to kind of give some different ideas and looks. Cool. All right, and that'll be it for this video on branding. We'll definitely come out with some other stuff on branding at another time. If you have any questions or want to learn anything more about this tool which we're using here, which is called Render Now, go over to eventrender.com/rendernow. All right, thanks.